SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Award-winning customer service with customized insurance plans at affordable rates made specifically to fit your exact needs. For auto, home, or life coverage, reach out to Ben Farrell with Shelter Insurance of Corinth. We are your shield. We are your shelter.
This is Gerard Gibbert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibbert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibbert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibbert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibbert, and I am on location today at the Eisenhower Executive Office building adjacent just here off the west wing of the United States White House. Such an exciting day. We'll be guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music. Will East handling the producer duties back in the SuperTalk studios. We're pleased to welcome now Anna Kelly, the Deputy Press Secretary for the Trump administration. Anna, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's so exciting to welcome you to the White House. And you guys always have the best music, too. So I was just jamming out on that break. I loved it.
Well, that's just so awesome. It is, man, it's so exciting to be here. We're so honored to be part of this group and seeing all these fantastic members of the Trump administration, including yourself. One thing about this president is there's no shortage of stuff to talk about because he's been active from day one. He told us he would be. And I think, Anna, this is the difference between a business leader and a career politician. I think career politicians always think about things that get in the way of getting things done. This president thinks about getting things done.
That's right. I mean, and I was part of the campaign, too, and so it's an incredible honor to see all these promises that were made and promises already being kept. I mean, this president campaigned on lowering inflation, easing costs for American families. He's already doing that. He's unleashing American energy. He is lowering gas prices. He is cooling prices for families across the country. I mean, he promised to secure the border, to deport violent criminals who have long wreaked havoc on our communities. He is doing that, sending violent gang members to El Salvador. He has secured the border. We have, I believe, the lowest crossings in history as of last month. So, I mean, he is quickly delivering on those promises in just under 100 days, and it's truly an honor to be a part of it and to welcome you here to talk about it.
That's awesome. So, you talk about immigration. That's something that's so visible. When you talk about economic issues, a little less visibility in that, although you see it when you go to the cash register, right, or the gas pump. But I think Americans are accustomed to seeing on certain news outlets, at least on a daily basis during the Biden administration, these videos, these images of these just massive amount of people crossing over our borders. We haven't seen that since this president's been in office.
Right. I think one thing that gets undercovered, I'm sure not by you, but by a lot of folks in the legacy media, is the messaging is vastly different, right? Because, of course, you have a president who is, number one, cracking down on illegal immigrants already here, leading the largest deportation in history, right? But he's also sending vastly different messaging. I'm sure your listeners remember back in 2021, all of these migrant caravans coming to our border saying, thank you, Joe Biden, for just ushering us in.
We're here because of Joe Biden.
Exactly. And people remember that. And people don't want these unvetted, often migrant criminals in their communities really, truly wreaking havoc. And we didn't know who was coming in. Now we're seeing lower border crossings, low border encounters, because not only is this president leading a mass deportation effort, saying the only way for illegal immigrants currently in this country to have ever have a prayer of coming back is to deport themselves. He's sending vastly different messaging. And so we're seeing less people try to come in and sneak past our border because they know that finally the border is closed and they're not going to get in. And if they do, they will be found and they will be deported. So I think he's already delivering incredible results on that front. And you know, I think a big part of that is this message that he's sending that do not come here, because if you will, we will find you and we will deport you. This is no longer the Biden administration's open border.
Our guest direct from Washington at the Eisenhower office building is Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly. So, Anna, speaking of this deportation effort, the courts seem to be looking, at least some activist judges, every single day for some way to block, to impede this president's agenda.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, who's the president here? Who is elected, and who's just in these cushy positions that I think are just looking for attention to make a name for themselves?
It's true. They are totally impeding on the separation of powers, and we always say, you know, if you want to run for office, you should do that themselves. But I remember in February alone, in March it was egregious too, but I remember in February alone it was 15 injunctions against the actions of this president. And compare that to, you know, so few under Biden and Obama, a lot of extremely questionable actions that they took to do things like open the southern border. Now this president is trying to close the southern border. He's trying to deport migrant criminals, which is something that the American people voted for. They do not want these convicted rapists, murderers, child molesters in their communities. This president is trying to address that. That's something he was elected to do. And yet you have these activist judges, as you said, trying to impede on the separation of powers and fight to bring back illegal residents of El Salvador to our country. I mean, it's completely illogical. It's dangerous, and it's extremely unfortunate, but you can be rest assured the Trump administration is continuing to fight back on every front.
So we have polls that show more than 80% of Americans, and of course that transcends party lines, oppose the idea of biological males participating in female sporting competition. Yet we have some governors, certain elected officials in some states that are defying the president's orders along these lines. In Maine in particular, also in Illinois, there are others. There's a big case that's being heard by the Supreme Court concerning teaching really inappropriate material and not allowing parents and kids to opt out. That from nearby Maryland here. This is popular with the American people, yet these elected Democrats in these states continue to be defiant.
Right. It's popular and it's common sense. I mean, I grew up playing sports. I'm sure a lot of your listeners did, or
Sure.
they have daughters who play sports. And it's common sense that no female child should be competing against a biological male in women's sports, because it's not just unfair, it's truly dangerous. I mean, we've seen horrific incidences like Peyton McNabb, a volleyball player who was basically almost received a concussion, or did receive a concussion, because she was hit in the head so hard by a male who was playing in her sport. I mean, it's incredibly dangerous for our young women and girls, and it's extremely unpopular. And so the president is really in line with the public opinion on this issue. And so it's really shocking to see governors like the Maine governor, Janet Mills, who even came to the White House and said we're abiding by federal laws. And the president rightfully said, I am the federal law. You know, this is something I was elected to carry out. This is something that the American people overwhelmingly support, and he's going to continue to do that.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I noted that the Maine Attorney General last week, also a Democrat, weighed in and said, there's no physical risk for a biological male participating in female sports, yet there are examples where females have been harmed by males participating. The volleyball incident's the one that comes to mind that happened a couple of years ago. It's just amazing how they're so defiant about that. Let's turn our attention to the economy. The president has a very definitive trade strategy, and he's leveraging the buying power of this country.
It's true. I mean, America has the best consumer market in the world, and every country in the world wants access to that market. And I think that's the true genius of these negotiations and these tariffs, right? Is this president is leveraging the art of the deal. This is what he does best. And now we have 150 countries from all around the world saying, I don't want to be subject to these tariffs. And so I'm going to make a deal to level the playing field for these American farmers, manufacturers, workers who have long been ripped off by these ridiculous trade deals imposed by not only Democrats but by Republicans too. And so this president is the first one to say the status quo isn't going to work. Enough is enough. We are going to stand up for these not just 4 years but decades of unfair trading practices. And so we're seeing the results of that. We're seeing 150 countries come to the table wanting to negotiate with this president. And we're also seeing American companies want to expand operations. NVIDIA last week announcing, I have my notes here, $500 million.
$500 billion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yep.
So,
Apple expanding. So all these companies are saying, there's nothing more certain than what the president is promising, which is if I manufacture my product in the United States, I'll face no tariffs. And so we're seeing that play out.
And, of course, we've got the Congress. We're waiting any day for them to send the one big, beautiful bill over. I know that the president is anxiously awaiting that. What are you hearing over there?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of any specific conversations or negotiations. The president, of course, has always long said he has great relationships on Capitol Hill. He's always willing to take a call. And so I think he's very optimistic about this Congress putting forward a bill that reflects all of his priorities. He wants, the president is the only elected official who was elected by the entire country. He was given an overwhelming mandate to carry out those campaign promises. And so he's looking forward to one big, beautiful bill that incorporates them all.
I know the economy, businesses, taxpayers, we're all awaiting this, and the president is determined to get that done as well he should be.
That's right.
So, yep. Anna, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you joining us. Yes. Anna Kelly, Deputy Press Secretary up here at the White House. That's where we are today. It's Middays. We're coming right back after this break with Kaelan Dorr, Deputy Communications Director. Stay with us. Middays is live from Washington, D.C.
He loves his wife, but she's that wife that decorates on the 4th of July, but says every day is Independence Day. She's golden rule, teaches school. Some folks say it isn't cool, but she says the Pledge of Allegiance anyway. He's got the red, white, blue flying high on the farm. Semper Fi tattooed on his left arm. Spent a little more in the store for a tag in the back it says USA.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibbert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
We're rolling.
Middays with Gerard Gibbert.
What? This is so
Awesome. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We are live today from Washington, D.C. We traveled this morning this way. We're at the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, which is just across the street, Pennsylvania Avenue, at the White House West Wing. This is a gigantic building. We are set up in a conference room, room 430, various members of the press, radio press specifically, podcasting press. I'm going to guess there are about 10 different organizations here that were invitation only. And so we're so excited, so grateful, so pleased to be part of this event. I got to give a shout out as well to the entire staff that works here at the White House communication staff. They are absolutely fantastic, and they've been just great people to work with. Of course, we had to go through security this morning out at the main White House gate to clear our way through Secret Service. Nothing unusual about that since you're entering what is part of the White House compound, where we are right here in the Eisenhower building. And that was fairly uneventful. Had to present. We had to, of course, send our paperwork up before we came late last week, and then had to present our photo IDs to match up with the names on the paperwork. And then we had to wait for an escort. That was about a 30-minute wait. We were told that. And then we went through the typical sort of electronic screening of our bags and so forth, except I got to pass this on to you. Our engineer, Houston McDavid, accompanied me. Of course, he's making all this possible, this broadcast today, which is really pretty cool to think about being where we are and broadcasting live. But the various bags, the hard cases carrying the equipment, had to wait for the Secret Service dogs to come by and sniff it to make sure it was all good. So I'm serious. So, Will, get this. They let me on through. I mean, you go to the little guard shack there. You present your credentials, and then they give you a press pass once they check you out. And then you stand to the side. There's a little kind of waiting area just adjacent to the guard shack and the big iron gates. You can see the White House right back there. I mean, it's 100 yards back, or so. And we're standing there. And then finally our escort shows up, and we go into the security area. Similar to a TSA deal, except these are Secret Service people, as you can imagine. Everywhere, right? And they scan the bags. They scan all of us, full body scan sort of deal. Except Houston, he's not with me. And that's when Houston came and got me and said, yeah, they got to bring the dogs over. So I looked down the street, down Pennsylvania Avenue, and here comes the Secret Service guy with the dog. So all the SuperTalk gear has been smelled, and it
thoroughly sniffed.
and it met the smell test. And then that's a true story. And then you're on the White House lawn there at the West Wing, and there's again, you exit the gate and up the steps right there again to the west of the White House, and you're in the Eisenhower building, and that's where we are, room 430. We're set up. You can tell this is set up to be a conference building. Really pretty cool, though, Will, to have all these people around, all these dignitaries. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem was just in doing an interview right now. I'm about 8 feet away from White House Economic Advisor Kevin Hassett, and he's doing an interview with one of the other programs here today right now. I've got Kaelan Dorr actually in the next segment. He's a Deputy Communications Director. Of course, we just had Anna Kelly. By the way, it's Bryn Jeffers. She is the Director of White House Media Affairs, and she has just been awesome to work with since she sent me, as I talked about yesterday, the text on Friday, hey, we're inviting you to this event. And she is, just like she has been on the phone and via text, I mean, so accommodating and so professional. We are so really fortunate to have her working with us and working in this White House. This is really pretty neat. The Patriot channel from SiriusXM is 2 down from me, Will, and then Joe Pags is 1 down from me as well. Yeah, so he is here. Rita Cosby, who is a big figure in WABC. So when we were all gathered together, like I said, waiting on our Secret Service escort, we had a lot of time there to chat and just meet each other. And so the first thing she said when I told her where I'm from, I'm not sure if this is something we want to be known for, I covered the Luke Woodham case down in Mississippi, and she talked about how much she enjoyed her time here. Now, she's a host on Newsmax as well, besides on WABC in New York. She's got a couple of programs on Newsmax, and so exchange contact information. She's been really fun.
She's got one of the best voices in all of broadcasting.
No doubt about it. She is fantastic. So, and I'm looking at, I can't tell which network it is, I'm looking at Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem right now conducting an interview. Ben Ferguson also here, of course, from WHBQ. And,
went to Ole Miss.
Right, and in fact, he had an Ole Miss backpack. I had met him before at Ole Miss, and when I reminded him of that event, and it was, really quick, he recalled it. It was a couple of years ago. So he knows Richard Cross. He says they were at school at the same time. So that's kind of neat. Yeah. He's up here, and, of course, all of these people – I'm the neophyte, right? All these people have been here before. They've been to this White House, to the White House. And, but these are long-time professional press folks. And I say that to say just how honored I am to be in this sea of professionals in this industry. it's just such a thrill, such a treat, really, for me personally, but for the show, for the network, and for the state of Mississippi to be included. This is just, it's beyond cool. I can't begin to express how neat it is. The weather is picture perfect up here. First thing I thought about when I stepped off the airplane, Will, is the last time I was here for the inauguration, how dang cold it was. And it's, of course, the weather is absolutely perfect today. And, again, we're so blessed. This is just such a neat deal, man. It really is. And I feel like there will be future opportunities as a result of our presence here. And, again, can't say enough about the fantastic job the SuperTalk team did to put all this together, and Houston getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to travel with us and lugging all the gear around. We've got the minimum gear, to broadcast the show. But that's still a bit of a chore to make all that happen. And so kudos to them for, on such short notice, on Good Friday when we all got together and worked this out. And I feel like the fact that this company, this network, was able to pull that off with such short notice, I really do feel like that puts us in a good position for future opportunities. Really cool. We should pass on, even though we're in Washington today. Don't forget, folks, vote. We've got lots of runoff races going on across the state, municipal races. The big one there in the city of Jackson that features Senator John Horn for mayor and incumbent mayor Chokwe Antar Labumba. Of course, I think we were all a little surprised at how well the senator did in the primary. The two advanced to the runoff today. So get out and vote. Don't forget about that. How cool was it, Will, for our previous guest, Anna Kelly, the deputy press secretary, to give us a little shout out on the music there.
Yeah.
She was enjoying the music, man. That was really cool. Our, of course, now iconic MidDays Journey music that kicks us in to the segments at the top of the hour. So really cool. It's just such a neat thing to be here, to be part of this event. Price Wallace says, congratulations, Representative Price Wallace, congratulations, Gerard, on this great opportunity in your broadcasting career, and you're one of the great ambassadors of the state of Mississippi. Man, from the heart, Price, really appreciate that. It is so cool to be here and represent the great state of Mississippi, and I'm honored to be part, again, of this event. Can't say enough about it. Looks like your trip to D.C. is having a positive impact on the market on the C Spire text line. Well, I don't know if it's my trip, but I have been keeping up with it. There must be some news driving it. I apologize. I've been a little busy. I haven't been able to check it out. So before we went live, I should pass this on. We did have an opportunity to interview Brian Hughes. He is the National Security Council spokesperson. What a fantastic interview that was on his part, for sure. So we're stepping aside for a break right now. MidDays, just outside the White House in the Eisenhower office building, is coming back with Kaelan Dorr, the Deputy Communications Director. Stay with us.
From the Seabrook.
Attention, adoring fans!
It's time for MidDays with Gerard Gibbert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Yes, a little Mick Jagger bumping us into this segment of MidDays. Folks, we're coming at you live from Washington, D.C. We're in the Eisenhower Executive Office building just to the west of the West Wing of the United States White House. It is our pleasure to welcome now Kaelan Dorr. He is the Deputy Communications Director, Deputy Assistant to the President, and White House Deputy Communications Director. Kaelan, thanks for coming on.
How's it going, man? So you were just telling me this is your first time here, right?
It is, yeah.
All right, this will not be your last time. I guarantee you we're going to bring you back next go-around.
That's fantastic, man.
All right.
We're so we're just so blown away to be part of this. It's an honor.
Yeah, well, no, and this is a part of something we're doing in the run-up to the 100th day. We're going to try and bring in as many outlets as humanly possible. We'll follow up with you with a final number because I think we're going to get pretty close to 100, if not well over. So we're excited.
Wow.
But this is about we've done this consistently since January 20th. We did a bunch of – we've actually done this once before. We've done this with podcasters. And then we also did something similar in the Rose Garden with local TV because – who's watching CNN, man? No one's watching CNN. And the people that aren't listening, but the people who are watching you and listening to you right now, they're going to take away something from this interview. They're going to go tell a loved one about it. And I think that's most important, that we provide some semblance of value to the media because Lord knows you weren't getting it for 4 years there.
No doubt about it. And Mississippi is Trump country. Mm-hmm. And we are broadcasting across the state of Mississippi today, and there are a lot of people tuned in at this moment in time that are just so pleased that Mississippi is being included in this event. So we're very grateful for that, very appreciative. And working with Bryn, she's been just fantastic to work with.
Bryn's pretty great. I'm glad she's not going to be able to watch this live so I can say all the nice things about it, and she can't come back at me later. So that's perfect. Totally great.
It's awesome. So it's a big job just keeping up with all the activity with this president in a good way. We're used to the prior administration. Unfortunately, we had it for 4 years, but putting the lid on, it seems like, on a daily basis, you get, just kind of smidgens and trickling of information and often wouldn't even take questions, was just not communicating with the press, but more importantly, with the American people.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do you think we're doing?
I think you're doing fantastic.
Give me a grade.
I'd give you an A. I mean, okay. I would. I'd give you an A.
What do I got to do to get an A plus?
An A plus. Get a trade deal done so we can get some stability in the markets.
I know they're working on it. Oh, no, hold on. I want to talk to you about that.
Okay,
right?
Sure.
So stability in the markets,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All these guys are talking about uncertainty. Uncertainty here, uncertainty there.
Yep.
How long has President Trump been talking about doing this exact thing?
No, we knew this was coming. I would agree that I think it's gross overreaction.
He's been talking about doing it for 30, 40 years, man.
He has been, yeah.
Nothing is more certain than anything that we've done so far. I'm not biting your head off.
I'm totally
biting
with
off
you.
their heads, right? Nothing has been more certain than everything we've done so far. We've secured the border. We said we're going to do it. It is an indictment of the political class in this country that someone says they're going to do something, then they go and do it, and it's seemingly uncertain. Right? That is an indictment of the quality of the customer service that your government has been providing you so far that we're looking to overturn and make better. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that so far.
So let me present it this way and get your take on it. This president is a disruptor in a positive way. And I think what we've had in the past, what we're sort of accustomed to, is the status quo. I like to call it tradition for the sake of tradition, really not rooted in any logic or.
Oh, it doesn't serve you.
What's that?
It doesn't serve you as an American taxpayer.
Exactly. So this president, I believe, doesn't look at all the reasons you can't do something. Rather, he figures out a way to get things done. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're accustomed to are these career bureaucrats that are just always thinking about all the bureaucratic hurdles that you just can't negotiate and overcome and get things done. This president doesn't accept that.
And what I love is that there are clips on the internet of Bill Clinton and other Democrat presidents talking about doing exactly what we've been doing, right? Suddenly they're not for it. We found a tweet from Senator Van Hollen. You're going to love this. We found a tweet from Senator Van Hollen, who obviously is a MS-13 gang member sympathizer and simp, as I've called him. The word simp is now on the presidential record. We found a tweet from him in 2017 where he's calling on President Trump to be harsher on MS-13.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, can you believe it? You think these people are serving you? They're not.
No doubt.
And I think we've found time after time these contradictions in both policy and rhetoric that, if you're a Democrat, I don't know how you go to sleep with yourself. I don't know how you live because you don't stand for anything, right? When you stand for everything, you stand for nothing.
Agreed.
And this president has done a really good job of backing them into a corner, right? They're out here defending literal murderers, literal fentanyl dealers. We got a lot of slack because we posted a meme of Tom Homan arresting a fentanyl dealer. And people were crying that we weren't respecting the humanity of this woman who is likely responsible for the murder of men, women, and children in our country. How disgusting is that? They didn't stand up for anyone at the joint address to Congress a few months ago.
Right.
We're talking, angel moms. We're talking survivors of cancer. We're talking, people who have served their country valiantly. They didn't stand for any of it. They don't stand for anything, man.
It feels like, honestly, Kaelan, that they show more deference to criminals, to illegals, than they do law-abiding American citizens.
And this is what you see. You got a vacuum of leadership on the other side of the aisle that is truly astounding, because I'll say this, business is good when you're not in power, right? Business is typically good. It's it's a lot easier to play offense than it is to play defense, as a lot of people in this industry will tell you. And it is truly astounding to me that they have not found a leader. I think it's because the far left of their party holds the center hostage. And I think that's what we've seen time after time here over the last, under 100 days now. You said it's been chaotic, it's been a lot, should be a hard job. It's been the easiest job because we're simply checking things off a to-do list, and we're finding creative ways to innovate. We have the space to be creative and innovate the way that we communicate to the American public. I was telling somebody here earlier, part of my portfolio is the digital team. We do things like this as well, media affairs, and I've never felt more empowered to go out there and knock some skulls together and really make some waves than in any other job. And that typically is not the case, when you work at the White House. I was here last time. And traditionally, jobs like these are very sterile. You need a crew from Madison Avenue to come workshop, your 150-character tweet. It makes no sense. We're out here letting it fly because we believe in what the president is doing, and we know that the American people voted exactly for this.
Yeah.
What's really funny? We talk about social media. I have not heard once someone say, "I just wish you would tweet less." That's all we got last time.
That's right.
That's all we got last time.
Yeah.
People pull me aside. They go, I love his policies, man. I love him so much. But if you see him, could you ask him to tweet a few less times? I haven't heard that once since we've been here in 100 days.
I haven't either.
And it's because this is what people want.
Well, he made it clear yesterday, I guess, via his Truth Social platform, his disgust with the courts and them interfering with this deportation of these bad people in our country.
Brother man, these people are horrible human. They are criminals. They are gang members. I saw somebody on the left tweet the other day that, what exactly constitutes being in a gang? Is it like paying membership dues? No, these people are doing awful things to the American public. People don't feel safe in their communities. Mm-hmm. I just had a child just days before we took office. I think she was born on December 27th. Obviously, we started on the 20th. I do not know how, as a parent, you can sit by and watch idly while Democrats, and you don't have a problem with this because you're Mississippi. There's good people down there. But some of these people in some of these states, we got some folks from Michigan here today, and I don't know how you sit idly by and let your career politicians sell your children's safety and future. They mortgage it to the highest bidder. It's absurd to me. Having something to fight for makes all this worthwhile. These people have nothing to fight for. They're just simply fighting against the president at the detriment of our country.
Yeah, so
and
true.
It's truly hard to watch.
Well, if there's one thing that he took care of and addressed and made progress on in a hurry, it was the border. And he told us
Oh, my God, it's done.
But the Democrats continued to maintain that, we need to pass more laws. And the president said, no, we just need a new president. And I think he proved that.
Yeah. No, it's truly astounding. They made it seem, there are a few things I want to talk about, and I know we don't have forever, but one of the greatest original sins, or the greatest lies that the Democrats have ever told you, was that it takes a Herculean effort to simply just do what's right. It doesn't. This president has shown that anyone can do it.
Yeah.
If you just have the simple courage to go out there and put your foot down. It's courage, it's common sense, it's pragmatism, and it's just the desire to make your country a better place. You love your country, you love your neighbor. These people will go out there, and for 10 years plus, they've painted the president as some sort of awful demon who wants to, imprison minorities senselessly and do horrible things. That couldn't be farther from the truth. He loves this country so much, he took a bullet for it.
That's so
true. And that's an indisputable fact.
That's absolutely true.
Your music selection's great, by the way.
Oh, thank you. We our producers do a great job. We got another short segment right after this. If you got to go, you got another.
I got to bop around because we've got a couple of really cool things going on in the admin today. But
I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you, Kaelan. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Folks, we're at the White House again. We're coming right back. It's a midday. Stay with us.
Middays with Gerard Gibbert.
All right, we are back
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays once again from Washington, D.C. We're in the Eisenhower Executive Office building. That is just outside the west wing of the White House. We're in room 430. Will, this is one big building. Man, and it's just kind of neat just traversing the halls as we did to get to the elevators, and then from the elevator to the room that we're in, just looking at all the plaques, the signage outside of the various offices. I mean, this is really where a lot of the executive branch is situated. The various organizations and agencies and all the folks, really incredible. Sitting in an interview right now, again, about 8 feet away from me is Kevin Hassett, the Council of Economic Advisors director there at the White House, and it's just been fascinating listening to him talk during our break here about economic policy and their expectations. And what really pumps me up is just the optimism he has for this administration, its policies. He was just talking about the one big beautiful bill and getting that thing passed, of course, extending the Trump tax cuts and also including exemptions of federal income tax for overtime, tips, Social Security. That's something that the president told us he wanted to do throughout the campaign. And so Kevin Hassett with the CEA, Council of Economic Advisors, is working closely with the Congress as well in designing the legislation to accomplish the Trump economic agenda. And that can't come soon enough. Let's hope we get something done to the president's desk, enacted, put into place, so we can move on to other things that this administration needs to be focused on, such as codifying some of the executive orders that the president has put into place. It's just mind-boggling to me, Will, looking at Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is now joining Maine and thumbing his nose, if you will, at this president with respect to allowing males to participate in female sports. It just seems like they would read the tea leaves, right, and see what the sentiment and the attitude of the American people at large is before they would just jump onto this. I think this is a huge political liability for the Democrats. But here you got a governor of a major, huge blue state in J.B. Pritzker, who is pretty left. And he, just the last couple of days, he's emphasized the urgent need, he says, to defend transgender rights and fight authoritarianism. And this was at a speech he delivered a couple of weeks ago at the Human Rights Campaign's Los Angeles dinner. The speech, of course, is available on YouTube. And he discussed at length. I caught a little bit of it, reviewed it. Transgender rights, threats to LGBTQ plus progress, the need for mass action to defend against authoritarianism. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't consider requiring biological males to compete against other biological males to be authoritarianism. I consider that protection of women's rights. And as Rhino talks about all the time, and as do many others on the right, where are the feminists? When are they going to speak up and come to the defense of these insane policies that are allowing this? It's just incredible. He said, did J.B. Pritzker, he said, Democrats must not take the, quote, soul-sucking path of sacrificing the most persecuted for that which we deem to be the most popular. So it's just popular for females to compete against females and males against males? I don't know. So you've got, Governor Gavin Newsom, pretty boy out there in Chicago. Former Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel was a key figure in the Obama administration, also thought to be a prospective candidate for president in 28. They're kind of backtracking on this whole trans deal. It's just amazing to me that they're leaning so hard into this. I just don't get what they believe is of value and a benefit to the Democrat Party with respect to that strategy. But he's all over it. This is just J.B. Pritzker, governor of the state of Illinois. I also caught, we're about to go into a break, a story, I'm going to have to do a little digging on it, about Indiana. Have you seen this, Will? It's either Indiana or Illinois. One of them are requesting adjustment of the border. They don't want to be part of Illinois anymore. This has been going on in, was it Washington or Oregon wants to be part of Idaho, I think. You get to the eastern part of those states, it's more like Mississippi than it is the coastal areas, which is just flaming liberal. But it's just weird how all this is kind of setting up. Folks, we are just outside the White House in the Roosevelt office building, broadcasting live today. It's middays. We're stepping aside for Fox News and SuperTalk News. We're coming right back.
Of Middays with Gerard Gibbert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. Hello? You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibbert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays, and we are live from Washington, D.C. We're in the Eisenhower Executive Office building in a room full of radio broadcasters, Will, is what it is. Room 430 in the Eisenhower building. And it is just across a narrow street there that separates the Eisenhower building, which is entered through some pretty steep, tall steps, honestly, a good number of them, to the White House, adjacent to the White House. Really pretty neat, the going through the White House security and then strolling just off the West Wing there over into being escorted by the Secret Service. It's just an experience I will certainly never forget. Really cool, and as you heard, Will, it looks like maybe we'll get invited back. That's pretty neat to think about SuperTalk Mississippi Middays being represented here among these most are nationally syndicated radio hosts and podcasters. I would estimate that we've got about 10 here today. But this is something that this administration likes to do. They call it a Radio Row event. And, they try to get as many from the administration over to interview. We're hoping to get Sebastian Gorka on the program here. Yeah. And is the senior director for counterterrorism. Remember, he was a key figure in the president's first administration, and I've seen him he's already done 3 interviews. He's coming back. And Bryn Jeffers, by the way, who is the White House Media Affairs Director, has been our contact, the one who invited us to participate. And she is here in the room coordinating everything. I know how difficult it is for our team, Will, to coordinate one show at a time. Imagine about 10 at a time. You're trying to coordinate and get everybody to where they need to be. So, and she told us before we came, with respect to who we might be talking to, that it just depends on availability of members of the cabinet and the administration being around. And so my sense is, you'd have to do multiple to kind of make the rounds, if you know what I'm saying, through the administration. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon has been on hand. She's done a couple of interviews. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, she's done a couple of interviews. Also seen Doug Collins. He is the former congressman from Georgia. He is now the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. I've seen him. Caroline Leavitt, White House Press Secretary. Of course, we were fortunate to have Anna Kelly, the Deputy White House Press Secretary. Wasn't she good, Will, that interview? She was really good. Of course, these are communications professionals. That's what they do. And they're so good at just serving as a spokesperson. And this is what their job is, if you think about it, for the president, for their boss. And that's what you got to like. I mean, they're just all in and so positive and so upbeat, so respectful, so optimistic. And you don't feel like that they're kind of sort of talking a little bit fictitiously just to overcome some of the craziness. I felt like that in the last administration, because I think even the press secretaries, Karine Jean-Pierre, the latest one, it just always seemed like she was sort of stressed whenever she had to deal with questions that she knew she didn't really have good answers to.
Or got pushback.
Yeah, get pushback. Exactly right. Didn't want any of that. And, of course, she had a boss that just was not engaging. And the one thing you have to say about this president is he's engaging. He will talk. In fact, he seems to really enjoy being in the limelight, and that's good. And he should be, because people want to know. They want to hear from their president. But the last one we had, always calling the lids and, right in the middle of the press conferences, just walking away, not knowing which direction to go in, or, oh, geez, I got to go, I'm going to get in trouble, and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's just a complete 180 turnaround from what we had prior. So really, really neat, though. Really neat experience, and just the idea that you're just in the center of the power structure of our country is just awesome as well. Now, I'm the newbie on the block, as you can tell from the interviews. The other folks here have been here before, and they've just been so nice and so welcoming, as has been members of the administration. So you have to be respectful of that. And you heard in our last interview with Kaelan Dorr, Deputy Communications Director, he asked a question. I thought that was interesting. He asked me, what do you think? And you'd have to agree, even though I think sometimes the communications has been a little chaotic, and maybe that's because their boss is always out there communicating, and it's hard to keep up. And sometimes they're trying to distill all that into some structured communication can be difficult, but I'd sure rather have a person that's out there talking all the time and expressing their views and their plans and their strategy to the extent they can with the American people than a person who you never hear from, who's out of sight, out of mind, and rarely ever available for any sort of discussion with the press. We got a guy now that welcomes it, relishes it. So it's just fantastic. And, again, just so pleased to be part of it. Nancy and Brandon says, congrats, Gerard. Have loved listening this morning. Great job. Really appreciate that, Nancy. We're just incredibly honored to be here. Get Doug Burgum's number and email for me, Matt in Burnsville said. I don't see Doug around. He, of course, the Secretary of the Interior. In fact, I caught him. He was on the news this past weekend discussing a trip he was making to Tijuana, Mexico. Did we talk about that yesterday?
We mentioned it briefly, but it was
yeah.
What was it again?
Mexico's dumping raw sewage in off the coastline there, the coast that serves both the Baja region and, of course, that's just south of the California coast. And Burgum's going out there to actually, you know what? He's going. I take it back. That's EPA. That's EPA Secretary or
Lee
Zeldin. Lee Zeldin. He's the one that's going there to talk about that. Burgum is going to the border to talk about using U.S.-owned land as essentially a buffer against border crossings, making making it known that when you cross over into U.S. federal government property like that, it's bad enough they're going on to private property. I mean, good grief, we've seen so many reports from independent American citizens who own property along the border who talk about all these migrants crossing over and often doing property damage and even more, even finding, you've seen this, deceased people on their property. Well, that's private property, and I think these cartels are a little bit braver when it comes to that. But Doug Burgum, Interior Secretary, is there making the pitch that, hey, look, you cross over the border into U.S. land, you're big time breaking the law, and we're going to prosecute you. We're going to come after you as a result. So I'm not sure I'm going to see him. Of course, you know the history of Doug, don't you, Matt? I don't know if you're aware of this. Doug Burgum, who was the governor of North Dakota, of course, and was called upon by the president to serve as Interior Secretary. So he actually has an IT software background, Will. He is came in and acquired a company called Great Plains Software. And it's accounting software. It's several modules that comprise a comprehensive accounting system. We actually in my business, used to compete against Great Plains Software. This is back in the 90s. And it's Great Plains because it's from that part of the country, the upper Midwest Plains area, and that's hence the name. He came in and acquired it. It was kind of fledgling a bit, but he turned it into a powerhouse, ended up selling it. You can look it up for me, 2001 to Microsoft, and I think for $1 billion, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. And that software is now branded as Dynamics GP for Great Plains, and that is offered by Microsoft. It's kind of one of those application areas you don't think about or hear about a lot with respect to Microsoft. You typically think about their office automation tools we're all accustomed to. You don't think so much about Great Plains software. But that's a big part of the ERP software of Microsoft's business. We actually use it internally in my company. And you know who else uses it, Will? Great Plains, Dynamics GP, the Mississippi Lottery Corporation, because it interfaces. That's one of the things they've done a really good job with. There's electronic links and interfacing into the gaming system. So a lot of the accounting transactions are actually handled. I'm getting off into the weeds about software at this point. I apologize for that. But that's Doug Burgum's background, which I think is pretty neat. Once again, folks, we're in Washington, D.C. It's middays. We're at the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. That's just outside the doors of the United States White House. We're just tickled pink to be here. Coming right back with more on Middays.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
Now, on to the real part.
Dynamite!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
See how that'd be a conflict. Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We're live from the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. I'm not kidding, guys, how close this thing is to the White House. We walk through, of course, there's a semicircular drive on Pennsylvania Avenue that services the White House. And over to the right on the west side is where the Secret Service, I don't want to call it a shack, it's more like a building is what I would call it. And the Secret Service agents are inside. You present your ID through kind of like I guess it'd be like a teller station, if you will, with a little chrome cup, you know what I'm talking about, Will, at the bottom that you can slip papers through under the glass there. I'm sure that's bulletproof glass, of course. and it's these giant, you've seen the White House, the fence, the gates. I mean, that's some heavy, tall iron. It really doesn't do it justice to see it on video or still photos, but when you're right there next to it, it's kind of imposing. And so, of course, you're always nervous about making sure everything is just right. And in fact, the information we sent had to match your driver's license explicitly. And there was one person here that's accompanying one of the hosts. She had trouble, and it took about an hour to straighten that out. And it was because there was, I think, a little difference, a minor difference in one of her three names. They got it squared away and got her through. And then there's about 5 people around the scanning machine, kind of like TSA, except these are Secret Service, armed Secret Service people with bulletproof vests on that you deal with. It all so nice, though, honestly. Very accommodating, very nice. And then they said, okay, just hang out here. We're going to send an escort to bring you, into the building, and they did. And climbed, again, a series of concrete, marble, actually, steps into the building. But you can tell it's a really old building. I don't know when it was built. It's ornate, but it's old. And so
it's where all the Watergate stuff went down, man.
That's exactly right. As it's historic in that nature. It really is. And all the power, of course, is in the floor. It's recessed under the floor. With it's a raised floor because we're in this conference room. It's got a lot of media stuff in it, and so there's cords. They told us bring your extension cords, and as Houston can attest, there are cords all over the place. And I keep thinking before I get out of here, I'm probably going to trip on some of these cords because every time you get up and move about, you're having to dance around the cords. But it's pretty neat. We've got another 30 minutes or so, and the event will be over. We're hoping to get Sebastian Gorka on again. Bryn, our contact for the event, Bryn Jeffers is out front. Also, Will, we're going to try to get Rita Cosby on. She's still here from WABC.
Yeah.
I think she'd be a blast to have on and talk to as well. And I'm getting contact information from the other hosts that are here as much as I can, so that I think we're kind of exchanging, hey, we'll get you on my show and back and forth, so that'd be kind of neat. You want to come talk to us? Yeah, so that's Joe Pags right there we're talking to.
Joe Pags, yeah.
You want to come talk, Joe?
I'll sit right down.
Look, we got 7 minutes in this segment right here. Come on. So we got host of the Joe Pags Show, Joe Pags in the flesh here.
What's happening, brother? Good to see you, man.
This is neat, man. It's been an honor and a pleasure to meet you. I've admired your work for a long time. Of course,
Thank you.
You got your daughter helping.
Yeah, Sam, getting it done.
Once we got through whatever the little security glitch was.
What was that? Sam couldn't get in. She got married. That was the problem. She got married. They were like, "You're not the same person, are you?"
That's what it is. Well, you know what? The problem we had. This is Houston, our engineer.
Good to see you, Houston.
And of course, he's lugging all this equipment that we got set up. We're live, of course, across the entire state of Mississippi.
Love it.
And we had to get the Secret Service dogs to come sniff all the equipment.
Really? That's how much you brought with you? Really? Wow.
Oh, really? Wow. So we were able to get through all that, but this is such an experience. First time I've ever been here. I'm so honored, and it's kind of neat to be around all you radio professionals.
Well,
I'm the neophyte in the room.
Oh, come on. No, you obviously do a great job. You had great guests coming up, so that means a lot. That means that they know who you are. They want to be on your show. That means that your audience is really big time as well. And we love what you got. SuperTalk, right?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. How many stations go through the state?
13, 14, I think.
Imagine that.
But
That's awesome.
It's unique in that it's statewide.
I love that. I love that.
I think we have more people tuned in right now, Joe, than CNN does during prime
Well, I
time.
mean, yeah. No, I think
that's a low bar, I know.
Well,
so.
yeah, you're right. I mean, getting over that's not that hard. I think that I think the Cartoon Network is what Doug Collins said, or was that Tim Burchett who said that? It was Tim Burchett who said it. Listen, this is the way media is going. People are listening to you. They're watching the stream that you're doing. People are watching social media. People know that ABC, NBC, CBS, you can listen to them maybe for the weather, maybe for the sports locally, but the news part of it just isn't reliable anymore, and you are, and that's the big deal.
Well, it's so neat because we have lots of regular listeners. We have a text line. We don't do call-ins,
nice.
but we have a text line. We get hundreds and hundreds of texts every day, sponsored by C-Spire, a great Mississippi company. But many will tell us, "Hey, I get all my news from you." So you feel a bit of an obligation, do you not, when you're doing that?
100%. When people say, "I only trust you for the news," that means that you did something right, and they verified you and made sure that what you said was true, and then they try to verify the other guys, the legacy media, and it wasn't true. So they know they can tune in and rely on you. I love that angle of it because it's a very personal angle as well. I got to listen to this guy on the radio. I've got to go watch him on the stream. This guy has not gotten it wrong yet. And what's interesting, and I'll bet you're the same way, if you do happen to get it wrong, you fix it in 2 seconds.
That's right.
And you tell them I got it wrong.
But
the legacy media will dig in and say, no, I'm right about that.
But you're so right about that. There's no shame in admitting you made a mistake.
Exactly right. Because we all do it.
Little mea culpa and apologize and say, we blow it sometimes. We're humans when we move back.
We've got 170 stations nationwide, but we focus a lot on social media. Are you doing the social media right now?
We are. We have a great digital team. We do a lot of social media. All of our shows are archived. They're on YouTube.
You know why it works for you? Because, and I'm sure it does work for you, is because people might not be able to hear the entire show.
Absolutely.
And they want to know what they missed. And being able to do it on demand or by appointment, how cool is that? I mean, when I started in radio 36 years ago, we didn't have anything like that. I mean, you either called it. We had newspapers that we were like highlighting what we're going to talk about that day. That's how long ago it was. So the new media, and I love that you're doing this because I noticed that you're doing digital as well.
Yeah.
The new media, if you don't grab a hold of it, you're going to be left behind.
Yeah,
I love that you're
right.
doing it. You're doing a great job.
Well, this company knows that. They get that, and they're all about it. And you know what's cool is we interview, as you can imagine, members of our legislature, our lawmakers, our statewide leaders, our congressional, our federal delegation, and by the way, their staffs they tune in a lot to hear what's going on. But they'll want they'll ask later, hey, when are they going to publish the archive? It's usually an hour, couple, after the show. And then they'll share it.
Anybody in government ever hear you do it, and then they call in, I want to get on and talk to this guy about that?
All the time.
I've had that happen. Yeah, I have that happen a lot.
Yeah, we get that.
And we're in Texas, so we get to hear from them all the time. But no, I love what you're doing. I listened into a lot of the interviews. In fact, I stole the interview questions you were asking so that I could ask them.
No,
I was like,
didn't.
Sam, I don't know what to ask, but listen to Gerard say. I should probably go grab what he said. So I was like, no, this is my question, I promise you. But no, listen, I think you do a great job.
Well, thank you, Joe.
This is the first time I'm not familiar. I'm not in Mississippi, so I don't hear the show a lot. But I'd like to hear it. I'll look at the archives now for sure.
Joe, how long have you been doing this?
36 years.
You told me that you've got a big presence on TikTok.
I do, almost 1 million. Yeah,
and you said that you'll run into young people. Now, how do you sign off on your show?
Well, I sign off on TikTok. I sign on by yelling, "Come on!"
TikTok.
Yeah, I yell, "Come on!" at the end. Yeah,
and you've run into young people that have repeated that to you before.
They not only repeat that, but I'll get DMs from people saying, "I don't know if you realize it, but you've got a really nice voice. You should get into radio."
That's so awesome.
And I don't say I'm in radio because that would be. I just feel arrogant about that. I just say, that's a great idea. I'm looking into it. I'm going to ask my mom if I should. And then eventually they'll look it up and they'll write back, why didn't you tell me?
That's so great.
It's not because you didn't know that's what I did. A lot of people who are younger, we've got 15, 16-year-olds at the drive-thru going, how do I know you?
That's so awesome.
And my answer is always, I do the radio show. I don't listen to AM radio.
Yeah.
Are you on TikTok? It's the strangest thing.
Yeah.
But people, they're not tuning in for the come on. They're not tuning in because I'm great looking, obviously, you can tell. They're not tuning in because they love a deep voice. They're tuning in because what they're getting from me is either funny, educational, interesting, and it's certainly newsy. It's newsworthy. So, what you do for a living and what I do for a living is just tell stories and entertain people.
Yeah.
If they like what we're laying down, they're going to come back, no matter what the platform is.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of great customers, great Mississippi companies, of course, that sponsor our programs, and obviously they're getting their money's worth for it. That's why they keep paying for the sponsorships.
I love it.
But
I love it. Keep on doing it, man.
It's a world of opportunity for sure. radio people are special people. I've come to appreciate that.
In a good way or a bad way?
Yeah, in a good way,
okay.
of course.
I wasn't sure.
They tend to
call
be
me
more
special. I don't know how to take that.
They tend to be more trustworthy.
Well, I agree. I agree because either our customers believe what we lay down and come back, or else they don't come back. We don't make any money.
That's exactly.
So you got to
right.
tell the truth.
Yeah, that's
honor to be on with you, man. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Appreciate you.
Really
coming
appreciate
on,
you, man.
Thank you.
Thank
buddy.
you.
Yep.
We'll do
Folks,
it again.
Yeah, sounds good. Folks, we're once again at the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. That's just across the street from the White House, the west wing of the White House. What an honor it is to be here. We're coming right back with more. It's Middays. We've relocated the Element Well studio in Washington, D.C.
From the SeabrookPaint.com Weather Center, I'm Bob Sullender. For all your paint and coating needs, go to SeabrookPaint.com. Today, a 60% chance of rain, high of 83. Tonight, a 60% chance of showers as well, low around 64. Your Wednesday, some early showers, then partly sunny conditions, high near 82. And a look to Thursday, a 60% chance of rain, partly sunny conditions, high near 85. This weather is service of our friends at Delta Auto on Highway 51 in Canton. If the engine is a diesel, meow, it's Delta. Delta Auto, Highway 51 in Canton.
I'm Sonny Holland, and I manage Woodland Plantation. This farm consists of about 2,400 acres southeast of Holcomb, Mississippi. We raise about 300 mama cows here. I've been doing business with Sail Oil for a long time. I started doing business with Mr. Nookie Sail in the 1960s. We buy all our diesel, propane, and lubricants from Sail. When you need fuel, they get it to you quick. I would definitely recommend Sail Oil for any of your fuel needs.
Sail Oil Company. Ride with us.
Be sure and check out the newly remodeled Basil's in Fondren, where you get simple food done well. And don't forget to drop by Basil's Fountain View at the Renaissance. Go to eatbasils.com for online ordering for both locations. That's Basil's.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
Family Termite is a proud VIP sponsor of the Handyman Show on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Whether you're a proud DIYer or a seasoned veteran, Mississippi's handyman Buddy Slowick has the answers to your home improvement questions each Saturday from 10 till noon.
For over 30 years, Heron Gear Lexus has proudly served Mississippi with one simple mission: do things right from the start. From the moment you walk through our doors, you'll experience excellence. We're not just about luxury cars. We're about building trust and relationships. We strive to maintain the finest dealership network in the industry, treating every customer like a guest in our home. At Heron Gear Lexus, it's not just service, it's a promise. Discover the difference. Heron Gear Lexus, where luxury meets integrity.
At Watkins Construction and Roofing, we're not just about repairs and replacements. With our Rooficide services, we help keep your roof looking new and free of those unsightly stains and algae for years to come. Safe, effective, and EPA approved. Rooficide is the simple solution for long-lasting roof protection. No harsh chemicals, no damage, just a clean, beautiful roof. Call Watkins Construction and Roofing today, 601-966-8233 or nomoreroofstains.com.
I'm Kelly Bennett, and you're listening to SuperTalk Mississippi News. Mississippi high school students currently have to pass state tests in math, science, English, and U.S. history. According to the State Board of Education, the history test is the only one not required by federal state law. They'd like to reduce the testing burden on students, so they're considering removing the history test. But first, they want to hear from parents. Under the proposal, the state test would be removed as a requirement for graduation, but students would still be required to pass the actual course. Parents have until 5 p.m. on May 19th to submit comments to the Board of Education. Those comments will be presented to the board June 19th. After that, the board will make its final decision. For all things Mississippi, visit supertalk.fm.
Put your party face on. The man from the country is cutting loose.
I'm from the country and I like it that way.
Look out, the big man is coming. Tracy Byrd. A night filled with his biggest hits.
Well, that's the truth.
Saturday, May 24th, Pearl River Resort Silver Star Convention Center.
I do the watermelon crawl.
Tickets on sale now at pearlriverresort.com.
That's the truth about me.
Tracy Byrd.
This is professional ball player and former Mississippi State Bulldog, Jake Mangum. When you got everything on the line, you need a team behind you that's dedicated to getting the job done. That's why I love Farm Bureau. Their great rates are supported by a wonderful customer service team that stands by me through thick and thin. It's time to join Farm Bureau. Visit favrates.com for great rates on home and auto insurance. Or find a local agent at msfbins.com. Farm Bureau Insurance. Go with the home team.
You know that nowadays, most people go online to look at a business before they spend their money. Do you have an old, outdated website or just a Facebook page and still not bringing in customers? Targeted digital advertising from STMM Digital's highly trained and trusted staff is the answer. We're ready to work with you to help your business capitalize on the power of digital marketing. Call 601-991-2305 or go to stmmdigital.com to get started today. Middays with Gerard Gibbert.
It is
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Turn it up.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Middays. We're live today from the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. I think they refer to it as the EEOB for short there, Will. This is one big building, and it is, of course, just west of the White House, connected via underground tunnel. Lots of the executive branch offices located in this building. As you said, this is where the Watergate stuff took place as well. Gary in the Berg on the C Spire text line says, did they check your handicap card at Annandale? Call the pro shop to verify. Great show. Now y'all play Tom Petty, You Wrecked Me for some bumper music, says Gary. We'll see what we can do there. Lori in Goche says JT would be so very proud of the Super Talk crew today. Absolutely no doubt about that. We're thinking about him today. Mississippians are always going to come with good music, but you guys do an especially good job. Appreciate that. The fact that y'all are there is another sign that Mississippi is no longer at the bottom of the food chain. Good times, David from Steens. I appreciate that, David. We know that. I absolutely agree with you, but sometimes there are folks outside of our great state who have besmirched it, shall we say. They don't really understand the great state of Mississippi, the people of Mississippi, and we all know that. We treasure it. We appreciate it. And you guys also know anytime somebody visits our state, they're blown away. It's not what they expect. There's a misconception. I've shared that, my personal anecdotal examples of that many times, bringing in the Wall Street investment community. They're just blown away. And I got to tell you, there's a little sense of pride you would feel just poking your chest out. Yeah, this isn't what you expected, was it? It's kind of neat to dispel their misconceptions. Pretty neat. Caroline Levitt was one of his best hires. She, of course, the White House press secretary, that too on the C Spire text line from the 228. I totally agree. She's fantastic, and I got a chance didn't have the opportunity to interview her today, got the deputy, and we were fortunate to get that. It's a fantastic interview. But she was right next to me doing an interview with one of the other networks, and, man, she's just so well-spoken and so full of energy and again, so upbeat and optimistic and such a great surrogate for this president. I agree. A great hire. Sharon and Brandon says, so excited for Gerard to be in Washington participating in this media event. You make Mississippi proud, Gerard. Well, Mississippi makes me proud, and I appreciate that, Sharon. I really appreciate the kind words there. Let's see what else we got. Ricky in Aberdeen says, congratulations on being in D.C. Well, it ain't the swamp anymore, Ricky, so we're in D.C., but I can't say that we're in the swamp. We're de-swamping this place. This president is at a rapid clip. Thomas in Greenwood, congratulations. Waiting for the surprise Trump interview you're keeping secret. I wouldn't hold out for that, Thomas, but that would, of course, be an incredible honor. But you never know what could happen, especially hearing that we could be invited back for future events. That'd be really, really cool. Matt in Burnsville confirms, April 5th, 2001 is when Great Plains sold the company to Microsoft for $1.1 billion. I don't know exactly what Burgum's participation in that payday was, but that's pretty good. He took a company that was fledgling. It's kind of neat if you go out there, Will, and just Google Great Plains software. You'll see, if you go to the images, you'll see some photos of the early days when it's Burgum. 30 years ago, right, with his team of about 8 or 10 people in the accounting software business. And they, the Great Plains, kind of their branding, they used a stagecoach, for the plains and the upper Midwest and so forth, and also had like wheat stalks as part of their logo as well. Kind of neat. And so this building, I knew it was old. On the C Spire text line, appreciate it, Joe. Jeff says it was built between 1871 and 1888. Well, and, I guess, Will, when you think about the formation of our government, the Capitol and the White House, this probably was one of the first buildings in the complex, around the Capitol, comprising all the various buildings that sort of surround the White House, the Capitol, and so forth. So it's kind of neat. 1871 and 1888, and I don't know how many square feet in this building. It's big, though. That's all I can tell you. When room numbers are on one floor are like 90, that's a lot of rooms on one floor. Pretty neat. And listening to Journey songs as intros is a plus. Absolutely. This is from my friend Donna Perkins on the 601. Absolutely. Jeff in Grenada, while we were talking to Joe Pags, what a superb radio voice. Yeah, no doubt about it. Fantastic. Very recognizable voice, and we appreciate Joe for taking a little time. Of course, our content director, Alex Payton, has instructed me to get contact information from many of the other hosts, and I have. I've been making the rounds, exchanging cards and V-cards, electronic cards, and so forth. So Joe is happy to be scheduled to come on our show. That'd be fantastic, and I think he's going to have me on his. It's really neat to be part of this community. Something for me as a newbie in the industry. These people, most of them been here a while, in the industry, that is, and they're consummate professionals. Leslie in Grenada, if you had to go through so much security check, how was all the coke getting in when Biden was in office? Oh, man, I don't know. I'm not going to touch that one, Leslie. That's, I think, still a mystery. Karen in Oxford remarks, what would you say and what would you ask President Trump? I generally don't really sit down and, think through and form questions when I do interviews. I try to do it as spontaneously as possible. I'd probably have to think a little bit about that. Karen, what I would ask her, but I think the one thing you'd have to say that stands out about this president, this is something I've discussed many times on the program, even while Joe Biden was in office, is that this guy loves the country. I may not always agree with all of his policies and even some of his tactics, but there's no doubt in anybody's mind that he puts this country above all others, and he puts the people of this country. And that resonates with Americans. And that's what it should be. It's insane to think about the president, the highest-ranking official in the country, again, showing deference to illegals, or even worse, just criminals in general. It's as if they seem to be focused on decriminalizing crime or criminal acts or the criminals themselves and showing deference to them, and vilifying victims and law-abiding citizens. That's not the way it should be. It's just crazy. But that's the one thing you have to say about this president. So, I mean, if I would anticipate any questions, it'd be about that. You know, his commitment to the country and his always putting this country first in all policy making and all decisions, even in hiring a staff. All of the people he's hired, many of his administration witnessed here in the room I'm in right now, all of them feel the same way. It just felt like in the prior administration, did it not, that many of those people that served in that administration, they always kind of had their nose in the air. They were just arrogant about it and they seemed to take like great satisfaction on cutting this country down and diminishing its importance and its value on the global stage. It feels like that all kind of got cranked up when Barack Obama was president. You know, remember him on his tour bowing to the Japanese prime minister and moving the bust of Winston Churchill out of the White House. And I mean, there were just lots of other situations and incidents where it just seemed like he was almost like embarrassed to be the American president and was sort of downplaying American exceptionalism. I say the heck with that. The heck with that, man. This country is exceptional. It is the most exceptional. It is the most powerful. It has done more good for society. I always get just tickled when you see the UN and some of these human rights organizations will always put this country at the top of those who violate human rights. I mean, that's insane. There's no place on the planet where humans and their rights are more respected and more afforded than in the United States of America. And it all comes from right where we are, folks. It actually comes from our Creator, God. It's protected by the government, which is right where we are. Remember, we're unique in that respect. We believe our rights are conferred to us or bestowed to us by our Creator, and that they are inalienable. That's something that Joe Biden never could get right. Remember that, Will? He always blow it every time he tried to cite it. You know the thing. Folks, we're in Washington, D.C. today. We're at the Eisenhower Executive Office building on the White House complex. We're coming right back.
We've done all we can.
You know what that means.
Middays with Gerard Gibbert.
We'll do it live
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
That's the great Eric Clapton, Layla, Derek and the Dominoes. Thank you for that, Will. Great music bumping us into this segment. It's Middays, and we are live from Washington, D.C. at the Eisenhower Executive Office building just outside the White House. It's just, Will, it's kind of surreal to sit in this room, in this building, in this setting, and, hear all our normal show. It's just, I'm having a hard time just processing that with the headphones on and the mic and so forth. And it's a little different, little unique remote of all the remotes we've done, I would certainly say. But it's like I feel like I'm in Washington and in Mississippi at the same time. That's what's kind of neat about it.
You are.
Yeah, I know. And that is just so cool. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. Reese says, enjoying your show. Really appreciate that, Reese. Matt in Burnsville again says, I grew up in Fargo. He walked away with a big chunk. I think he did, talking about Doug Burgum, who came in and took over the helm of Great Plains Software sold it for $1.1 billion. He, of course, that was in 2001. He, of course, is Secretary of the Interior. At one time was a candidate for president before he ultimately dropped out of the race. But good guy, I think a good pick for that. Knows a lot, by the way, about energy. I thought he might be the selection by the president for energy secretary. He went a different direction. I think Chris Wright is our energy secretary. But Burgum is an excellent choice for interior. I think Lee Zeldin as well. I mean, I don't really have any qualms with any of the president's selections, honestly. Scott Bessent, of course, Secretary of the Treasury, and Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, Brooke Rollins, Ag. I think Doug Collins, an excellent choice for Secretary of Veterans Affairs. I listened to him during a couple of interviews, and, man, he's all about taking care of our precious veterans, and it's so refreshing. Tim and McGee says on the C Spire text line, man, I'm so proud of you, Gerard, and Super Talk. Who'd have thought it? Just don't get comfortable and want to stay. We need you down here. Tim, don't worry about that. I'm a Mississippi boy at heart. You know that. David in Pascagoula says, excellent show, Gerard. Really appreciate that. And Karen in Oxford, thank you so much for taking all of Mississippi with you to Washington today by broadcasting. I'm so excited for you in Mississippi right now. So proud of you guys, and really appreciate that, Karen. Could Super Talk America be on the horizon? Asks Mailman Clayton. I'm not sure. Great show. So proud that you are representing Mississippi and Washington, that D.C. That's Bill from Saltillo, Mississippi. Gary the Berg says, thanks for the Tom Petty bumper music as well. When I was mayor of Pascagoula, I negotiated $170 million from EPA for our Superfund project there at the EEOB. That's where we are, at the Secretary of Army's conference room, says Dane Maxwell. I appreciate you letting me know that, Dane. That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of offices in this building. I mean, this really is the heart of the executive branch. I am in awe, says Ronnie in Summit. I have to tell you. So am I, Ronnie. Great show. If you see Caroline Levitt, tell her she has a lot of Mississippi fans. I did. She was here and did perhaps 3 interviews, I think. And, you know, we ended up having the deputy White House press secretary, who was fantastic, Anna Kelly. And I'm optimistic that we're going to get invited back and kind of make the rotation through all the various members of the administration. But I also got to point out that this isn't just me. There's an army of people behind the scenes that make all this possible, that put us in position for this day at Super Talk Mississippi. And so this really is, I think, a reflection of the quality work that the entire Super Talk team produces. And we're just a reflection of that today, sitting in this building, in this room. But you heard Joe Pags say it. He's familiar with the company and the work. And he's as big as they get, I'd say, Will, in the radio broadcasting world. And we exchanged contact information and look forward to having him on our show and perhaps get a chance to be on his show. We were positioned right next to him, by the way, and he it was a blast being with him and his daughter. It was her, by the way, as you heard, that had trouble with security
because of her married name, right?
Yeah, for her married name. But you know, that's what you want. You want them to pay attention to that kind of detail and just be by the book. You don't want any exceptions to that sort of stuff. It worked out. Wasn't that big a deal.
So coming up, we got Brian Hughes, right?
Yeah, Brian Hughes. We interviewed him before we went live. He is the National Security Council spokesperson. So after Fox News and Super Talk News, Will is going to cue that up for us. We'll air that interview, and then we'll be back with you on the other side to wrap up the day. Thanks so much for joining us. It's Middays in Washington, D.C. at the White House. Stay with us. office building on the White House complex. We're pleased to welcome now Brian Hughes. He is the Deputy National Security Advisor for Strategic Communications. Brian, thanks for coming on.
Gerard, thanks for having me.
So, with respect to the security of this nation, I'm not sure I felt totally secure during the last administration. This president has a totally different approach and strategy and just mindset with respect to that.
That's a fact. I say it all the time. When you contemplate how to make the world a more peaceful and secure place, there's no greater force to make that happen than a strong and secure America. We have a history of demonstrating to the world what peace through strength means. For 4 years, the Biden administration abandoned that principle, and we saw the world essentially ablaze in so many different ways, and we saw our homeland completely under siege. In just 3 months, a little over 3 months now, we've secured our border, practically zero flow. There's still, incursions, very, very small numbers. But when you think of the numbers that were coming in across our borders illegally, it's just a dramatic change in just a short period of time. And you should remember that President Biden said he needed Congress to do it. He needed all these things. It took a stroke of a pen of Donald Trump and in a few months, and here we are. And now that we have the border secure, we're also aggressively inside the homeland, going after criminal terrorist organizations, these transnational gangs, getting people out. The worst of the worst are being sent home or sent to facilities in other countries. And at the same time, the president's leading on the international stage to bring more peace and stability, support our friends, and let our foes know it's a different time.
You make a good point. I think typically when Americans think about national security, usually the first thing that comes to mind is securing from our foreign adversaries. But really we have a significant potential threat inside our country, especially with the borders being so wide open the last few years.
We had millions and millions of people in 4 years' time come across our border, and the vast majority of them with little to no vetting or even understanding of who they are or what motivates them to be in our country. And it wasn't just, the southern border makes you up and think it's Central or South America. It was a porous border that some of the worst operators around the entire globe were using that border to come in. If you look at the countries of origin from the Biden era, we had, African nations, Asian nations. We had people just coming in from all over the world. And as the president speaks to all the time, there were even nations that essentially emptied their mental institutions and their prisons into our porous border. And that threat has been eliminated at the border. And now we're getting the worst of the worst that got through. As we find them and as we understand what motivated them to be here, we're getting the bad people out.
And this is exactly what the president told us throughout the campaign and upon being elected. And he put people in place really just to enforce existing law. Tom Homan, of course, does not play around with that sort of stuff whatsoever. So we're making progress there, but it feels like, Brian, that the courts are kind of mucking up the works a little bit here.
Yeah, there's certainly a disappointment in, we're seeing at the lower levels of the federal judiciary what sort of years of liberal neglect of vetting our judicial system can lead to. We've got some activists in black robes that pretend to be the impartial voice of justice when in fact they are liberal political operators who are undermining what the president is trying to do. And as you noted, policies that he did not hide from the American electorate. He told at every day of the campaign, when I'm elected, here's exactly what I'm going to do. He does that every day. He made promises. He's keeping them. And, the judicial system, it has to be respected. The president agrees that, we'll work through the courts. But it is a disappointment when you see legal processes undertaken by the president and his administration get sidelined by activist judges.
Yeah, it's certainly standing in the way of what I think the vast majority of Americans support. And what's even more disturbing is we have some folks in the other party, in the Democrat Party, that seem to be tilting more of their deference to illegals in this country than they do American citizens.
Yeah, I mean, the most insane examples are happening right now where, you know, the senator from Maryland would rather fly to El Salvador to have margaritas with a known gang member criminal than sit with the grieving mother of the victim of a transnational gang member criminal. It's really it boggles the mind. It defies any sense of wisdom, but it happens every day. And it's, you know, from a political hat, if the Democrats want to continue down that path, I guess we should let them. But it's just sad as policymakers that such common sense policies like President Trump is enacting are still being fought against.
So, of course, the president is very serious about his trade imbalance and strategy and tariff strategy as well. There's a national security component to that as well, is there not, Brian?
There absolutely is. I mean, it's first and foremost, like I said, a strong America leads to a safer world. So our economic prosperity here at home is a part of that. But more important, we've allowed, and we speak to it all the time, we've allowed very important components of our economy to be outsourced. So we have important elements that are part of national security equipment, you know, military equipment. We have pharmaceuticals. We have things that are extremely important to the day-to-day lives of Americans that we simply do not produce in the United States anymore, and the places that produce them are not our friends. So when we have such an imbalance in trade and such a over these many decades now, such destruction of the American manufacturing and the American worker base, we're going to reverse it, but it is daunting sometimes to think about how far the sort of globalist old model let us get as a country, and it's so important that President Trump, again, a policy that President Trump made extremely clear to the people who elected him, I'm going to do these things, and now that he's doing, some people seem surprised, but it's good for the American worker. It's good to get it'll lead us back to a place where American manufacturing and innovation are the world leader rather than simply making us the consumer of nations that don't like us.
And this issue was really laid bare during the COVID pandemic. When we learned, I don't think most Americans knew, the vast majority of our antibiotics, for example, are produced in China.
That's right.
At a time when we needed those medicines the most.
It's pharmaceuticals. It's even basic supplies. If you remember the chaos when people erroneously told us we had to wear masks, getting called the PPE, and but even more concerning than that is just the rare earth minerals are the base of the new technological world. So all of the things that go into our phones and our computers and the things that missile guidance systems and everything down from your from your son's cell phone all the way to the missiles that keep us safe. There are elements of these things that are simply not produced in the United States and almost exclusively produced or originate in China. And China, as they're demonstrating every day, is no friend to the American people.
So I think the takeaway for me, Brian, is that national security involves a lot more than just military strength. There's many more elements to it. And something that's really changing dramatically, as you well know, is just the digital landscape and how that figures into our national security as well. What kind of efforts do we have going on there to address that?
Listen, there is an entirely new battlefield that has emerged thanks to technology, which are, there is so much of our lives on networks and in the computers in the digital world that cyber security is extremely important. And we see every day, particularly Iran and China, have extremely aggressive cyber attack capabilities, Russia as well. We have to defend from them every day, and we have to, just to keep the security around the day-to-day life that we have in a modern era, is part of our national security.
Yeah. The president, your organization is responsible for briefing him virtually on a daily basis, right?
That's right. We, the National Security Council is the home of the people that condense information from all over the world and from here at home produce the daily briefing, and also my boss, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, is part of the national security team that offer the best information and guidance that the president seeks. Make no bones about it, the decision maker is Donald J. Trump.
Sure.
But he's surrounded himself with good people. The American people should know, not just in the national security space, but if you look at his entire cabinet, he has created a team that is unlike ever before, and it's really an amazing group of people helping run the country.
Secretary Waltz was a great selection for that role, was he not?
I think so. I think Mike is a good man doing good work. You look at Pete Hegseth. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard in the intelligence space. It is a very diverse group of people, except where it counts, which is they're singular in their commitment to seeing the president's vision enacted.
He's selected based on qualifications. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, sir.
Brian, really appreciate you coming on with us today. Thank you. Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Folks, we're taking a break right here. It's Middays. We're at the Eisenhower office building right next to the White House. We'll be back.
It's so awesome! Middays with Gerard Gibbert.
Come on, let's get on with the show!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It is Middays, and we are live from the Eisenhower Executive Office building. That's part of the White House compound. We are so pleased to welcome now Rita Cosby with 77 WABC in New York. You host two shows right there, Katz and Cosby?
Yeah, I have Katz and Cosby with the great John Katzimatidis, who's owner and operator of Red Apple Media.
Right.
And also an amazing businessman, so he's just terrific.
Yeah.
And that's doing fantastic. We're number one. And then I have the Rita Cosby Show, which is also number one. So I'm a busy gal, but it's been an amazing time. And to be here with you here at the White House is
so
really
cool,
incredible. And I love Mississippi. I told you that.
You told me about that.
I spent a bit of time down there in Jackson. I remember. It's beautiful.
Well, I just told the audience that we met and chatted a bit outside the Secret Service security gate there.
Yeah, before we all got frisked.
That's right. But it's an honor to have you on the show, and of course to address the audience across the great state of Mississippi.
Thank you. Beautiful.
You've done this before. You were just telling us on the break. We're talking to Joe Pags. He's over here to our left, and you guys were sharing war stories about your radio and your media days. But you were first here in the 90s, right?
Yes, this is funny. I felt like this was old home week, Gerard, to walk in here. But every time I come, it's still special. You know, I say that like I'm still like a kid in a candy store every time you walk. How could you not? When you walk into the White House and you see all these, you see where the Oval Office is, you see the Executive Office building here, and a lot of the things haven't changed, but things do change too. Everything has sort of a different flair when it's a different president. But the first time I walked in, I believe it was 1995, and I was a scrappy young reporter at the time. I had just left the CBS station WBTV in Charlotte, and had just started at Fox Network, and they had not even launched Fox News Channel yet, but we were feeding all the different affiliates all over the country, the hundreds of them, many of them. And I remember walking in the door, coming through the same gate that we walked through today, and I remember the Secret Service guy said, you get the second cup of coffee because you're the second earliest person here today. And I said, well, who beat me? I thought I was so early for work today, And they said Helen Thomas got the first cup.
Who could forget her?
And she used to come every day. I remember however early I came, she was always there. And then I remember, I think it was the first day or two, I got called in, and I ended up being the pool. Can you imagine? Here, I didn't even know where the bathroom was in the White White House, and they're like, "You're the pool for television, for all television all over the world, for Fox." And I remember being in the Oval Office asking Clinton a question, and then I see Helen Thomas next to me.
That is so cool.
So it was really amazing times. And then I was here during Bush, and I've been here through the years. I was here, of course, during Trump's first time, and through the others. I mean, I'm trying to think. I feel like it's been many times, but every time it's special. And this is the first time under the second term for President Trump for me to be here. And to see him is really amazing. I've known President Trump personally, too, for decades. And, of course, known him, when I was in New York for Fox News. And then I went to NBC News, and we've had him many times on Katz and Cosby and on WABC Radio. And he's just such a tremendous man. And I think about the gravity of this moment for us to be here. And I always feel very blessed to be in the White House, and at this moment in American history.
Totally agree. This president is one who's very forthcoming with the press, and that's a bit of a departure from the prior administration.
Oh my goodness, what a contrast. And also he has answered. I love the fact that he's so courageous, whether he feels that media is fair to him or not, and a lot of them I think are not. Especially if you look at the way they covered and gave a pass to Joe Biden. Many of them are coming out now with, the bombshells, which we all saw,
Right.
But I feel like I give President Trump so much credit for answering the tough questions always. And, sometimes throwing it right back at them. I find it refreshing. And I also think Kaelan Levitt, who was also with us here in the room.
She sure was,
She has been amazing. And she also, what they have done in terms of letting in different media, and even to look at today, what we're experiencing here today, I mean, this is just extraordinary. And the access that they give, even in the White House briefing room, when I brought up even the Helen Thomas, because Helen Thomas back then used to always get the first question, Gerard.
Especially with Reagan, right?
With Reagan, with all of
with
them.
Ronald Reagan.
By the way, famously, her and Sam Donaldson always. And I remember there was always a pecking order. And I remember one time, very early on, Clinton called me very quickly. And everyone was like, oh, they're bucking the order.
Yeah.
And now you think of today, fast forward how we are today. What an amazing moment to see how they're allowing podcasts and they're allowing, new media and they're allowing internet. I think it's really refreshing. And it's a message about America opening up and wanting to be accessible to everybody. And I think it's wonderful.
It's the right thing to do. Americans need to hear from their president, from their leadership.
Yes. And what a contrast it was from Biden, who barely ever answered a question, seemed offended if anybody was asking him anything that I thought were very fair questions that we still have a lot of unanswered questions for. And to me, I've always believed that the best presidents are the most accessible. And I think the press, for the most part, not everybody, because I think some have obviously not been fair to him, but I feel like the media also appreciates the moment. Like, to me, I've asked many presidents very tough questions through the years, and have had to shout at them, or but I always have such incredible respect for the office, and I also have such respect for people who are in that seat, because every time you see the president, I mean, you look at Obama. Obama was a young, healthy, a guy going in, and he still was young and healthy going out, but he was all gray.
Yeah.
And even
it stressed him. He put years on him.
Talk about the toughest job in the world.
Of course it is. Yeah.
So we're lucky to have somebody there now who's able to juggle so many different, and you think about the warp speed. It is turbocharged, Gerard.
No doubt.
I've never seen anything like it. It's extraordinary.
Well, you've been doing this a while. It has changed. So there was a time, Rita, when we felt like that we could entrust the media, and and what you saw. And of course, I came through the era where you got 3 30-minute national news programs a day, and that was it. And I was in college when we had the Iran hostage crisis, when America was just calling out for more information, and that's kind of what launched Nightline, and then CNN. I mean, so the rest is history, as they say. It's 24 hours a day across a number of media outlets. But you can't rely on the media that it's accurate and fair and honest like it used to be. It's become more opinion, even though it's supposed to be news.
And that saddens me as a journalist, because I do feel like there's still a lot of people who really care of what they get out there. And that's what we do every day on Katz and Cosby. It's amazing. We have so many different people. Often in our studio we'll have, former governor of New York, David Patterson, and sitting right next to him will be the New York GOP chair, Ed Cox. And it's sort of a place where everybody will talk, but common sense is sort of the rule of the day. And we have Judge Richard Weinberg, former judge who's just incredible, who always lends great thoughts to it. And John's background is different than mine, so it's really a unique place. But there's not that many places like that, which is why I think it is special, because people are thirsting for that. And often, I speak on there as an American. I say what I feel. John says what he feels, because I think people really are sick of the filters and sick of the politics. And when I first came here, I never thought of, oh boy, it's two different worlds. And it does sadden me sometimes, especially when I look at the television networks, and I'll go on and go, were they at the same event? Because I'm looking over this one as a whole different world than that one. And it is hard for the average American to know what to trust.
It gets scrubbed before it ever gets to us.
Right.
It shouldn't.
Yes, and that's sad. I think it's sad that it's become so polarized, because at the end of the day, we are all Americans. We all want the best for this country. I always want the best for our president and for our country, and I always want us to be. It's the greatest country in the world. This country saved my father. My father was a prisoner of war in World War II.
I heard you talk about that. He came
across a riverbed, Gerard, and saw American troops. It was like a mirage. And so for me, I always feel blessed every day that I'm an American.
That's awesome.
And I want to appreciate being here. And I think it's important that the media, if they don't do their job, they get called out. And I love when I see Caroline and the president and others call it out.
It's awesome. We all should feel that way. Proud to be Americans, and not ashamed to talk about this country as being an exceptional nation. It just feels like that. The Democrats have kind of ventured away from that and give deference to other countries above our own in many cases.
We are the beacon, and there are countries like, as I mentioned with my father, that are dying for America to step in and lead and freedom, and we can never lose sight of that. And I'm jealous of you in Mississippi. I love Mississippi.
Well, you need to come down and see us.
Can't we take Cats and Cosby to Mississippi?
Absolutely. Bring it on down.
All right, good.
Rita, it's been great having you on. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
It was so awesome to be here with you today on this day.
Oh, it's awesome to be here with you as well. Thank you, Rita.
He's terrific.
Thank you, Rita. Really appreciate it. Folks, we're at the White House again. It's middays. We've got half an hour remaining. It's a little late in the day. I'm getting tongue-tied, as they say. We're coming right back. The Element Wealth Studio is at the White House today for middays. Stay with us.
From the Seabrook.
We interrupt this program.
Gerard Gibbert.
Here we go.
This is huge. Huge news. Huge news. Huge. You need to listen to this.
Middays with Gerard. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
All right, we are back at the Eisenhower Executive Office building. That's part of the White House complex here in Washington, D.C. It's middays, and man, what a day it has been. Really appreciate Rita joining us. We could spend another hour talking to her. I've had the opportunity to visit with her some today, and just her history of being in the media industry and covering politics and being around Washington. It's just fascinating to hear, as you heard during the interview, a touch of those stories, but just incredible legacy and history she has, and involved early on in the creation of the Fox News Network.
She's interviewed. Cool as well. I was looking her up during the break. She's interviewed everybody. I mean, everybody from Pope John Paul II to Eric Menendez. I mean, you name them. Everywhere in between.
Well, as we said earlier, she came down and covered the Luke Woodham story down in Mississippi. I'm sort of sorry that she kind of had to see Mississippi for that, but she obviously saw through all that and told me about how enjoyable her time was in her visits to Mississippi. And she wants to come on the show after we were done with the interview. She's all about it. So we've been exchanging information. Wants me to go on her show, and of course Joe as well, and that's really neat to get to know all these media professionals. I'm kind of in awe of being around all these people. This, has not been my historical business career. This is kind of my second one, but what a blast it's been today to be part of this event, and it sounds like we'll have some future opportunities in meeting all these great people. These people work hard, as you know. This is it's fun work, but it's difficult work for sure, and it's fast paced, especially when you've got an event like this, and there's so many people coming in and out, and they're trying to make the rounds through all the various programs, but it's pretty neat. And something else, if you think about, Will, how technology and certainly the digitization of the media industry has changed it so dramatically, because we have radio, we have live radio, we have recorded interviews, we have podcasts, we have video. I mean, it's really neat. We've got all this neat technology infrastructure and devices that we can carry around and set up and essentially recreate as best we can a studio environment, and that's kind of what we have going on here today. So that it's really pretty neat to be part of it. I'm not sure how else to describe it. Dan in Hattiesburg, great show, Gerard, making Mississippi proud. I'm proud of Mississippi, Dan, and I appreciate that. And again, it's just something else to be part of this deal. Let's see what else. Oh, if they offer you Kool-Aid, don't drink it, says JB. I hear you. We won't do that, but I don't think we'll see any Kool-Aid coming our way. Let's see what's Mo's got going in here. A story he just sent us that was published in the New York Post. This is on, of course, the C Spire text line. Democrat judge in New Mexico steps down after man with alleged Tren de Aragua ties found in his home. Good grief, a judge?
Wow.
Thanks for sending that.
I'll read it. A New Mexico judge tendered his resignation last month after immigration authorities detained a suspect with alleged ties to the gang in his home. So the gang member was in this judge's home?
Unbelievable. Illegal gang member at that, right?
Yeah. They confiscated 4 firearms from his daughter's residence after obtaining search warrants in response to social media evidence. Wow.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, geez. Does it ever end? Are you seeing not the videos, the still photos there of the judge and the gang member? Christian Ortega Lopez fessed up to illegally entering the U.S. in 2023. So that reminded me about. So that's the person that this judge was harboring in their home. Oh my gosh! So I caught a story this morning on the way up about an illegal who was interviewed, I think in California, who admitted to murdering 6 Americans. And I haven't checked out the story since then. I heard it on the news on the way up. But it just makes you scratch your head. And this is what Democrats are defending? People in this country that are murdering American citizens? We have enough trouble just protecting our people from criminals, American criminals. We don't need to import any, for goodness sake. And that's just really, it's despicable in my view that the Democrats could just jump all over.
Well, have you seen the latest? The National Republican Senatorial Committee has offered to pay any Democrats that want to go to El Salvador. They'll pay your trip. The only condition is you have to smile on camera while you're talking to these MS-13 or whatever gang they're with. So, yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, I saw that. So the other story I caught, let's see if I can find it, that I found kind of interesting was, is it a mayor that is encouraging the illegals to take fentanyl. Have you seen this?
Gosh.
California, actually it's homeless people. California Mayor, Lancaster, California Mayor R. Rex Paris, quote, "What I want to do is give them free fentanyl. I want to give them all the fentanyl they want." He stated this at a city council meeting, and he was referring to the homeless population. I mean, I assume it means he's trying to get them to consume fentanyl that would cause a drug overdose and ultimately their death. Just incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, unbelievable. So my wife is texting, says that this story about the judge she read last week, the judge hearing the case let the illegal free, saying that he knew the judge in question and didn't think he would let anybody stay in his home. What a crock, she says. Yeah, I think that's right. Oh, my gosh. This is all, think about it, Will. This is 100% a function of the Biden open borders policies. That's where all this stems from. We wouldn't even be talking about this if they just would not have just opened the borders up and invited everybody in. But so we're dealing with the consequences of that. And that's exactly what the president, Donald Trump, said is, they created this problem. I'm trying to clean it up. We don't have hundreds of years, paraphrasing a bit, to give all these people trials and due process or whatever else is involved in that. These are bad people, and they don't need to be in this country. And he's hanging his hat on the laws that allow him as the president to deport people under those circumstances, is what he's saying. And I tend to side with him in that respect. I mean, I'm for due process, but I just think it's a little hokey to think about due process for illegals, especially illegals that are in here committing crime. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they're talking about. So I'm looking for his exact quote, if I can find it here in a minute. He says, "I'm doing what I was elected to do, remove criminals for our country, but the courts don't seem to want me to do that. We cannot give everyone a trial because to do so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years. He's right. We would need hundreds of thousands of trials for the hundreds of thousands of illegals we are sending out of the country. Such a thing is not possible to do. We are in a ridiculous situation, or what a ridiculous situation we are in because of the Biden administration." That's absolutely correct. They're the ones that, again, just opened the doors up and invited everybody on the planet that wanted to come in to do so without following the law to become a citizen legally through the legal process. And now we're having to clean it up. This president's trying to clean it up. You also got now more Democrats, you've seen this, that are headed to El Salvador. They just seem to be obsessed with this Garcia fella.
Yeah, they are.
Now there's more of them that are headed that way. Representatives Yasmin Ansari of Arizona, Maxine Dexter of Oregon, Maxwell Frost of Florida, Robert Garcia of California, all arrived Sunday in Central America, down in El Salvador, to investigate the condition of Mr. Garcia. Oh, but we can't go investigate the condition of Americans who suffered the ravages of hurricanes in North Carolina, but we can go down to El Salvador and take care of illegal gang members. It's just incredible. You can't make it up, as they say. We're stepping aside for a break. The Element Well studio has been relocated to Washington, D.C. We're in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which is part of the White House complex. What a great day it's been. The final segment is next.
Get ready.
Gerard Gibbert. Going beyond the headlines, breaking down the stories that matter to Mississippi. Middays with Gerard on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. Final segment of Middays live from the White House in Washington, D.C. We're in the Eisenhower Executive Office building. This one's been here a while, and it is a big one. What an honor and a treat it has been to bring Mississippi, SuperTalk Mississippi Middays up to the nation's capital for today's broadcast, and hopefully we'll get invited back in the future. It's really been cool. On the C Spire text line, Terry in Boga Chitto says, I watch Rita Cosby on Newsmax every Sunday morning. She is hilarious when she has Barney Frank on. I appreciate that, Terry. What a great guest she was, and a fabulous personality, and just a storied history in the broadcasting, the media business. Really, really cool. How about telling Gibbert, don't forget to scrub after leaving the swamp? Okay, we'll definitely do that. It's like I said, this president has done a pretty good job of draining the swamp, I would say. Just in the contrast, if you think about it, Will, in the administration, the cabinet secretaries, the people who serve in key roles in the administration, versus this one, or versus the prior one, completely different. Larry and Ma says, did you take Scary Gary? No, Scary Gary's got to take care of business back at SuperTalk headquarters. And so you guys will know, they made it very clear, only two people, talent and one other person. So it's Houston and me on this particular deal, and that's the way they do it. You can understand why. They've got to limit the number of people for each outlet. And it's invitation only. You get invited by the White House Media Affairs Director. And that's how we ended up here, received that invitation as we went through with you yesterday. Mailman Clayton, congratulations on a tremendous show today. You represented Mississippi well. Blessings on your trip home. Really appreciate that, Mailman. And it's an honor to represent the great state, my home state, your guys' home state of Mississippi here in the nation's capital. And something I can assure you we'll never forget. What a lot of fun it has been. Let's see. Well, of course, we have someone on the C Spire text line that is a detractor of the president, shall we say. Has Trump visited the flood victims? No, but he can visit the Super Bowl and UFC fights. Let's not forget golfing every weekend. Well, as the Democrats always say, every time Obama was headed out to his Hawaiian vacation home, or Biden to Rehoboth Beach, he takes it with him, which is absolutely true. The office of the presidency is quite mobile. And you seen any video of the president playing golf at his Mar-a-Lago resort, he's on the phone, he's doing business. But more importantly, Will, I think we got to point out, the guy works, it feels like 24 hours a day. And even his staff talks about that. On the other hand, you're always getting the lid out of Joe Biden or walking off the stage after press conferences. So I don't personally think there's any comparison. That just sounds like you just don't happen to like this president from a personal perspective. But the question, whether or not he's putting forth the effort as required to serve as the commander-in-chief, I think is specious at best.
Yeah.
CC in Senatobia says, hey, crazy Dems, here's your choice, or your chance, to go to El Salvador. Free tickets, get them while they last. Disclaimer, all tickets are one way. That's pretty cool.
Did you see the William and Brandon's text about who's coming to Mississippi?
Oh, wow. I just did. I just pulled it up.
Jasmine Crockett is coming to Tougaloo to be to give the commencement address.
And this is a tweet from Representative Benny Thompson.
Yeah.
How about that? The secret is out, says Benny. It is truly an honor to welcome my dear colleague to our beloved Eagle Queen Tougaloo College to deliver an incredible commencement address. She is undoubtedly one of the promising leaders in Congress, and I eagerly anticipate hearing her inspiring message. I kind of think she's crazy, honestly, is what she is. Oh, my gosh. Tougaloo College is a great institution not far from our location there at SuperTalk headquarters, as you know, Will.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. Will from Yazoo says they get mad at Trump for enjoying to do things, but yet they didn't get mad at Biden for only sending $750 each to the families of the flood victims of North Carolina and Tennessee. Guess it was because most of those people were likely to be Republican voters. Also, these people were the same people that did not say a word when Bill Clinton was enjoying the company of Monica Lewinsky. You know, I'll just say I think it was a combination of the way this whole situation after the hurricane in North Carolina and Tennessee was handled. It was a combination of incompetence and politicization of a natural disaster, especially given the timing with the election and so forth. Folks, that's a wrap today from the Eisenhower Executive Office Building on the White House campus. It has been an honor, a pleasure to be here today. Middays is signing off from the nation's capital. Scott Sands filling in for me tomorrow. Back with you again on Thursday. Until then, stay safe and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.